How's it going, boys? Johnny Superbman here, and it's time for us to have another update video about a trade that happened at this year's trade deadline. I want to come out with a few of these videos talking about an individual trade in each one because I don't want to just make one video talking about all of them. I want to actually have the comments dedicated to one trade because I want to hear it from you guys. A lot of these teams I don't get to watch, so getting educated from the people who actually watch the game is actually kind of nice. So in this video, we'll talk about the Marty St. Louis trade, Ryan Callahan trade, all right, swapping places, captain for captain, St. Louis going to the New York Rangers and going back to Tampa Bay, Ryan Callahan, a 2015 first rounder and a conditional 2014 second rounder. All right, so let's just get into this first. What are the New York Rangers getting with Marty St. Louis? For how good Marty St. Louis is, this trade was still kind of... I don't think it was labeled as a blockbuster, but when you look at Marty St. Louis and what he's done over the course of his career, it really is a blockbuster trade. I think it's just his age. People write him off because of his age. But Marty St. Louis is pretty much a career point-a-game player. I mean, going back to 2006, 2007, since that year, he's been way above point per game. Steven Stamkos changed the whole dynamic and really reinvigorated and re-energized Marty St. Louis there. Gave him a nice target. And with that skill that Marty has, definitely a point-a-game player. And also, he doesn't get injured. I mean, he's Mr. Consistency. 82 games played. I think he had a 77 game played season, right? So even though he is 38 years old, there's no reason to think that he's not going to be playing hockey next year or the year after that or the year after that. He's been Mr. Consistency. He doesn't get injured. He's a career point-a-game player. So, you are getting a superstar right now. Screw the 38 years old, all right? It doesn't matter. He's durable, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down. So it is a superstar. The Art Ross Trophy winner from last year, they are getting a superstar winger there in New York. And I think for the deal to be good, all that New York needs is 2 good years from Marty St. Louis. Give him this year, but then also give him... and when I say this year, I'm talking about, they make the playoffs and he does good in the playoffs. And then also come back next year, Martin, and get a good 82-game season where you're almost point a game. You don't necessarily need to be point a game anymore because you don't have Stamkos. But something like 65-plus points and then another good playoff run, and I think it's a good trade for the New York Rangers. All right, but he still has to play that. But again, I don't think there's any reason to believe why Marty St. Louis would be slowing down. Career point-a-game player pretty much. And also, I think more importantly, especially for the New York Rangers, he's a point-per-game playoff performer. 68 points in 63 playoff games. So the New York Rangers, they're looking to win the Stanley Cup. There's no excuses. They were at the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago, right? So they're aiming for that Stanley Cup. I think Marty St. Louis does help your team come the playoff time. And also, I think something that I don't think goes unnoticed. I went unnoticed to me, but I think that's a big boost to Brad Richards. If you can get Brad Richards going like he should be going at $6 million a year, and you have Marty St. Louis there as well getting point per game, and Rick Nash is going on his own line, right? That could... You bring in a superstar winger, and also you get your center going, playing like a superstar again, right? That's almost like bringing in 2 superstars. So if he gets Brad Richards playing the way he could be playing, that's a scary-looking trade for the New York Rangers, all right? So there's the positives with Marty St. Louis going to New York. Now, when it comes to going the other way, Ryan Callahan going to Tampa Bay, I was trying to find some good things about this trade, and it really did feel like this trade was, I don't want to say forced, but, did Tampa really get everything that they could have for a blockbuster-type player? I know some people were saying, I was hearing that Martin only wanted to be traded to New York, so Yzerman had his hands tied, right? But going back the other way, Callahan, and I guess Callahan will bring a bit of a grittier dynamic than Marty St. Louis. I mean, he's not that big, but he is an upgrade in size. When you upgrade Marty St. Louis, I guess everybody's an upgrade in size. So he does bring that, that grittier type, the penalty kill, the blocking shots, maybe some leadership, some on-ice leadership, even though I'm sure Marty St. Louis brought his own leadership as well. It's just, that different style of hockey player, the rough and tough hockey player. Callahan does bring that. Offensively, he's not bringing what Marty St. Louis brings. I think with Ryan Callahan right now in his career, I think you can expect, if he plays a full 82-game season, I think you can expect a 20-goal, 20-assist season out of him. I know, this year he's only got 11 goals. I still think he can catch up on that. I know a couple of years ago he had 29 goals, right? I think that's his career high, 29 goals. I just mean that minimum, you can expect 20 goals, 20 assists. Sure, he can get more, but I think just the base is. You can expect that from Ryan Callahan, right? But is he going to be playing alongside of Steven Stamkos? If he is, I think you can pretty much guarantee those numbers to go up. I mean, if he's playing alongside of Steven Stamkos 82 games of the year, I mean, 25 goal, 30 assists, maybe even 25 goal, 40 assist season. Just give the puck to Stamkos, sit your ass on front of the net and let him do the work. But that also might not be true, because maybe the reason Stamkos was so good, or is so good, was because of the setups that Martin St. Louis has given him, right? So a lot of questions in the air. One thing I like about Callahan is he's kind of like a nice replacement for an aging Ryan Malone. I know Malone's a lot bigger than him, but again, that grittier type of hockey player. You know what he's bringing. He's not bringing those crazy hands, that great shot where he's going to be putting up points. But in an elimination game, in a playoff game, for anyone who's actually played hockey, you know what kind of player I'm talking about. Those gritty players that just, you always know where they're out there. They're loud mouths, they're doing everything that they need to do to try to win the game. They energize your team. Have you ever, just speaking from experience, when you're playing with a tough guy like that on your team, or not necessarily a tough guy, but somebody who's going out there and literally killing themselves to win the game, blocking shots, right? Yapping away at the other team. It energizes your line. It's like a goalie making a huge save. It energizes your line. That's what Ryan Callahan can bring. Your team's killing off a huge penalty, and he kills himself with a nice shot block. Your whole team gets energized by that. So, he brings that kind of aspect, and Ryan Malone's getting a little bit older. Will he be used on the power play, though? That's a question. Will Callahan be used on the power play? And also, he's a playoff type player. I think, even though they're going to miss Martin St. Louis point per game production in the playoffs, I think, again, the grittier type of player is definitely welcome when you reach the playoffs. Once the games matter, once every game really matters, that intensity level raises, the gritty type of players really do start to show up. Brian Bickle last year, right? Just certain players that you're not aware of definitely showing up in the playoffs. So I think he can be a playoff performer for them. But you know what? Just weird, and this is where I want you guys to come in. I think I've already put this question to you in one of my GM modes, but I want to have it again. Why did Martin St. Louis want to leave for New York? Was it he wanted to play in his hometown? Was it the whole Team Canada snubbing? I have a hard time believing that, not because I don't know Martin St. Louis, I don't know Steven Yzerman, I don't know anything that goes on, right? But it just seems like, man, Martin St. Louis won a cup with Tampa Bay. He's been there for how long, right? And it's Team Canada. I mean, Jesus, you get snubbed. They won the gold for a reason. There's so many good Canadian players, and if he's willing to, leave Tampa Bay after all these years simply because he wasn't chosen for Team Canada, I mean, maybe Steve Yzerman was a dick to him in the way he did it. I don't know, but to leave Tampa after all those years, it just seems like I'm missing something. There's something else in there, like somebody slept with somebody else's wife or something. Like there's something that we don't know about. But I don't know. It's kind of weird for the Martin St. Louis. And Ryan Callahan, I think the writing was on the wall with Ryan Callahan. A lot of different reasons. But originally, Ryan Callahan wanted like $7 million a year or something. Like, that's just crazy for that kind of player. The New York Rangers already have so much salary tied up in players that they view more valuable. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist is making like $9 million. Rick the Dick is making like almost $8 million, I believe. Brad Richards, who they want to get going, they can't trade his contract away. He's making like over $6 million. You just signed Dan Girardi. You just signed Ryan McDonough, who is more valuable to the team than Ryan Callahan. Ryan McDonough is, and he's making much less than Ryan Callahan if he was making $7 million a year, right? So just too much cap tied up in all these different players. I think they would have liked to sign him if it was like maybe 5.5. I heard maybe even 6 they would have signed him for, and he turned down $6 million. I was watching Don Cherry, and man, turning down $6 million as a player who does not put up a lot of points, definitely still worth it, definitely still useful on a team, but he wants to get paid. You want to get paid. Like, you're an athlete. Only one person's looking out for you, right? You might get injured the next day. Do you think the GMs are going to sign you to a deal because you got injured just to be a nice guy? No, they're gonna cut you, let you go to another team, right? If you can't produce for them, they don't want you. So as a player, he wants to make money. That's his prerogative. He can do it. But I have no negative feelings towards Sather for giving him up. I mean, you can't pay everyone what they want, right? So Callahan simply just wanting too much, and I think David Clarkson really didn't help out Ryan Callahan's position too much. He got paid, but you're seeing what kind of season a grittier type of player can have. And if Ryan Callahan has the type of season David Clarkson's having, making $6-7 million a year, that's just a waste. Clarkson's a big waste at 5 point something, right? If Callahan has that type of season, not saying that he would, but if he has that kind of season where he's just not scoring goals, you're paying this guy $7 million for 11 goals in 40 something games, it's just nah. So I can see where Sather was coming from. And last but not least, if I had to choose a winner, it's really hard to choose a winner because it feels like both these trades were brought on by the players themselves, not the general managers, right? Both general managers, it felt like we just have to get it done. I'd say if Martin St. Louis stays healthy and if he gives them a good year this year, a good playoff run, point per game, he performs in the playoffs, gets them to the second or third round, and then does the exact same thing next year, playoff bound, point per game, second or third round again. I think it's a great trade for the New York Rangers. Those that first round pick and the second round pick won't mean anything, right? If they're making the playoffs, and I think if the Tampa Bay Lightning can somehow figure out a way to get Callahan signed and also figure out a way to get him on the team and be effective on the team, then it works out for them as well, right? So it could be a trade that works out for both teams, but if I had to choose one, I'd say the New York Rangers. They got a superstar in Martin St. Louis, and again, if he gets Richards going, then you have a superstar winger and a superstar center, just out of nowhere, right? Like they didn't have it a month ago with Richards playing the way he did. Bring in Martin St. Louis, boom, both of them, superstar again. So if that gets going, I'd say the New York Rangers. But it's not about me because I don't watch these teams. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Tampa Bay fans and New York Ranger fans, you especially, all right? How do you guys feel about the trade? Good, bad? What did you not get? What would you have liked to seen happen? All right, anything and everything. I'm going to do a couple of these trade deadline videos, so this one's dedicated to the Tampa-New York Ranger trade. You can expect to see some more over the next few days. All right, boys? So I'll see you in the next video.